In the Jewish community or in the spiritual community, there are two kinds of people. Really, in all communities, you have these two kinds of people, but it has more significance for our discussion here in the spiritually engaged community. You have some people, probably most people, that they're engaged and immersed with the world. They're out there. Their lifestyle is such that they go out and they meet and they greet people and they encounter all of the various distractions and temptations that the world presents us all the time. And then there's another kind of person, a smaller group probably, who are the academics, the scholars, the rabbis, who spend most of their lives insulated in the ivory tower, as they call it. And they don't really encounter too much, a lot of the distractions and stuff that goes on in the outside world. They live very insulated, quiet lives, more protected lives. Now, what's important to understand about this distinction in terms of our discussion here is talking about the Benoni and talking about this person who is fighting spiritual battles all the time to overcome the forces of their animal soul, to be able to always win and be able to master their behavior in their thoughts, words, and deeds. So let's backtrack and explain, review what we've learned earlier. The Benoni is not the tzaddik. The tzaddik is the purely 100% righteous, holy person. The person is completely rid of themselves of any trace, any influence, any force of the animal soul. Earlier in the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe quoted the verse from King David in Tehillim. King David said, "V'libi halal bepirbi," my heart is empty within me. The word halal, by the way, can mean two things. It can mean empty, or it can mean slain, killed. And King David was saying that I have slain and killed my animal soul, which is why it's empty within me. The heart being the seat, the primary seat of the animal soul. And because he was, through his effort of being a great tzaddik, he achieved complete elimination of the animal soul. Essentially, he was saying about himself, I'm only governed and controlled by one soul. I only have one soul active within me. I don't have an animal soul. And therefore, there's no struggle in life, and they live a life of complete peace and complete comfort, always only being aware of and wanting and knowing of that which is right and that which is true and that which is good. There is, by the way, another category of a tzaddik, which we're told about Avraham Avinu or others, that it's not so much, or not only that they've slain or killed their animal soul, but rather they've transformed the animal soul. That's a higher level. It's a level where that tzaddik still has two souls alive and well functioning within them. However, one soul is a naturally godly soul, and the other soul is the animal soul turned into a godly soul. Which, by the way, an animal soul turned into a godly soul can sometimes be more powerful than a naturally godly soul because of the brute force of the animal. So if it's channeled into a positive, holy way, it can achieve so much more. And that's, in fact, what we're instructed by the Talmud in the prayer that we recite every day in the Shema. We say, V'ahavta, you should love God, b'chol levavcha, with all your heart, but literally levavcha, with all your hearts. Levavcha. Why the plural hearts? How many do you have? So the explanation is, there's the right side of the heart, which is the seat of the godly soul, and the left side of the heart, which is the seat of the animal soul. And one should love God not only with the right side of the heart and eliminate the distractions, the forces of the left side of the heart, but rather to transform that so that both hearts, both souls, bringing both of their qualities to the table, are channeling their love and their connection, their attraction towards God. That is the tzaddik. The Benoni is nothing like that, as we've learned at great length. The Benoni only has full mastery over their behavior, allowing the godly soul to completely rule and govern their behavior. But within their heart and their mind, their feelings, their emotions, their passions, their enthusiasms, and all the things that they gravitate and are attracted to, the animal soul is alive and well in the godly soul. So it's the Benoni is the kind of person that always experiences a very frustrating, difficult internal struggle. You know, like they say, you can win the battle, but not the war. That's the life of the Benoni all the time. He's winning battles he or she is winning battles every single moment. tempted to do something which is inappropriate, which is sinful, and nonetheless controlling that to do only that which is right and that which is correct, that the Torah allows and encourages the person to do. Winning battles all the time, but not winning the war, because the war is the struggle over the two souls within them to overtake the territory of their body, their mind, their heart, their major spaces where they process life. Well, that they never win that war, only the small battles. Now, we learned that a Benmeleh can and should experience moments of tasting the life, the inner peace, the effortless life of the tzaddik certain times during the day. When is that? We said during deep meditative moments, heightened spiritual experiences like prayer, because it's during those times that there's the overpowering and the elevation and the immersion of intellectual processing of understanding God, understanding of wisdom, of intellect, of using the mind to contemplate God, the Torah, that which is good, that which is right, not that which is versus that which is wrong. And it's an objective place, and it's a place of logic and reason and common sense. And at that place, everything seems clear. We're controlled by right and wrong, not by pleasure and pain. Now, you have to have a heightened state of intellectual activity and awareness to be able to allow that to trickle over. What it does is it trickles over into the heart, and the heart also starts to yearn and want and gravitate towards that which is holy and healthy for it. And it's during those moments that the animal soul stands no chance. And so it's not eliminated, it's not defeated, the war is not over, but it does fall asleep. And so the expression is that the godly soul has control over the body during that time. Control implies that there is an underlying force, an opposing force, but the force has no power because you have full control. Which means that once the person is out of that mode and finished their prayer and returning back to their regular self and functional senses, the animal soul can reawaken, and the godly soul loses its control. Because the animal soul has never been defeated, it's just been put to sleep for a certain amount of time. But we explained in previous classes how that morning or daily experience can influence you for the rest of the day to master the control of your behavior, to live like the Benmeleh. What about the people, as we started off in the class today, who are an entire day engaged with prayer, Torah study? They're the scholars, the academics, the rabbis, those that are not out there in the world, functioning on the busy streets of the universe, but rather they're always praying and studying. They're always involved in holy work. And so they have intellectual mastery over their life throughout their entire day. They're always immersed in a contemplative way, in a very deep, profound, comprehensive way, in recognizing God and studying Torah and being permeated by the truths of the universe, and therefore always in a very sensitive or supreme state of cognizance, of clarity, of understanding what's right, what's wrong, what's important, what's unimportant. They're always in that place. So that's a wonderful place to be in. It's not for everyone. Most people have to spend their lives making an honest living. Not that they don't make an honest living, but going out there and hustling and bustling with the world. That's the role of most humans. But one out of the 12 tribes of the Jewish people, historically, were the scholars, were the teachers. They were the spiritual guides. And so they spend their life dedicated and immersed in prayer and Torah study. Now, in a sense, they therefore have an easier life. Because what for you and I, experiencing a prayer experience for half an hour a day or an hour a day, and it brings us to this heightened spiritual state where we can taste the life, the peaceful life of the tzaddik, and then during those moments easily conquer the animal soul. And then afterwards, during the rest of the day, when our animal soul returns, we are still empowered with a trace of that influence to be able to succeed throughout the day. These people, their whole day, their whole life is immersed in that way. And so they live their days and their lives in a much more peaceful way. They don't have the struggles that most people have because they're simply not exposed to and distracted by the things that most people are. At the same time, there's a test for them. And there's a challenge. Because it's much easier for them to fall into the trap and think, oh, I must be the tzaddik. I don't have the struggle. I'm not tempted. I'm not attracted to that which is sinful, inappropriate, wrong. I'm always on top of my game. Life is easy. Not just, I don't have to battle in order to be able to perform the right things all the time. It comes easy to me. I want that which is good. I desire that which is holy. Now what's the reason for that? It could be like the tzaddik. You don't even have an animal soul, such a force within you. But it's probably not that, because most people are not the tzaddik. It's very likely that you're the Benoni. You have a strong, healthy animal soul, but it's constantly asleep. It's never been given a chance to rise up and exert its force over you, because you're in that heightened spiritual contemplative state a whole day. Here, the Alter Rebbe gives us some Kabbalistic terminology, how to understand why being in this heightened, contemplative, meditative, spiritual state, why that allows us to have complete force and control over our animal soul. Because we want to achieve the power of Devorah. Devorah is the power of strength, of control, of discipline of the animal soul, not allowing it to arise, awaken, and tempt us. And that's on the left side of the Sfirot, as you may be familiar with. And in the intellectual faculties going to the mind, the left side faculty, which is also the path of Devorah, of strength, is Bina. Right? On the right side is Chachma, which we learned earlier. Chachma is the conception and is the initial discovery of a new idea. Bina is the deep, profound contemplation, understanding, expansion of the length, breadth, width of an idea, giving yourself complete understanding and comprehension of the idea. And then Dat is the middle path. That is the connector between the knowledge and self and your emotions. You can know something or you can understand something. When you know something, it means you're aware of it. I'm aware of it. I have a little bit of a grasp, I can't say I understand it too well. I don't own it. When you know something, your knowledge can always be threatened, because someone else can bring a piece of evidence, a proof, a logic that counters what you know, and then you're not very strong in what you know, and you may cave into what they're telling you. You may be convinced out of it. But when you understand something, which means you have explored an idea to its greatest depths, and you've mastered the full potential of the knowledge of that idea, you are convinced by it. You own that knowledge. And it's been an honest, comprehensive exploration. Nothing can convince you out of it. And when you have that level of knowledge, then you have control over yourself. And so what you're trying to experience during prayer and during those meditative states is the full potential of Bina. And when not just you're aware of God, you're aware of the Torah, you know there's a truth out there, but you actually experience it and you understand it and you own it, then the animal soul cannot convince you out of that. And then you have complete control over your entire self, including your emotions. So some people are engaged in that kind of behavior throughout the entire day. And therefore, they're always perfect in their behavior, like all Benonis are. But not just that, they're also feeling perfect in their inner side as well. They're not experiencing any struggles. Such a person is like Rabbah. Remember, Rabbah is the great Talmudic sage, and he was for sure a righteous tzaddik. He was somebody that never stopped studying Torah an entire day. In fact, the Talmud has a story about him that it was time for him to die, so the angel of death was sent by God to kill him, take his life away. But he had no power over him because he was studying Torah 24/7, and when he's engaged in the act of a mitzvah of studying Torah, the angel of death could not even get hold of him. But as he's studying one day, he hears some rustling in the trees outside, and he gets afraid. He thinks maybe it's a battalion of some foreign army coming to raid the city and make a pogrom. And Rabbah says to himself, better I should die than be taken captive into the hands of these enemies. And so he pauses from studying Torah and he allows the angel of death to seize hold of him and then take his life away. So Rabbah was a tremendous, true tzaddik. Yet Rabbah, when he was teaching his class, he told them, I want to give you an example of the Benoni. You know the Benoni is? Me, I'm the Benoni. And we asked the question in the first chapter of Tanya, if he's a Benoni, then who are we? We can't even get close to that. And anyhow, he's not a liar. He's not a dishonest person. How could he say he's a Benoni? He's truly a tzaddik. But now we have the answer. When someone is immersed in Torah study and prayer a whole day, which means they're always in this heightened spiritual, meditative state a whole day, and at those times they have full control, not just over their behavior, but also over their inner side, their emotions and their minds, how do they really know? If it's because they're a tzaddik and they've eliminated the animal soul, or it's just because they're still a Benoni and they have a very powerful, healthy animal soul alive within them, but it's completely asleep, it's dormant throughout an entire day. You never get the chance to reawaken because you're immersed in that heightened, powerful spiritual state throughout the whole day, which is exerting full control over the animal soul and putting it to sleep. That's why Rabbah, being a very honest person, thought to himself, maybe I'm just the Benoni, even though he was truly the tzaddik. But what the lesson we could take away from this is that most of us are not the tzaddik. So even if we're having a good day and feeling on top of our game and in a very heightened state of spiritual sensitivity, and we're involved in Torah study, we're involved in prayer, we're involved in doing a mitzvah, and we're very infused with goodness and righteousness and holiness. And it's at those moments that we have control over ourselves and we're feeling good. There's no struggle. We only want to do good and be good. We're not tempted by anything else. So we're not fighting at that time. Don't make the mistake to think you've already become the tzaddik. In all probability, you haven't. You're the Benoni. You have successfully put the animal soul to sleep. Good on you. You should do that as often as possible. But don't give up the fight. Because the moment you think there's no fight left in me anymore, then you may get lax, you may get lazy, and then you'll be completely unprepared when that animal soul reawakens to attack you. How are you going to fight and win that situation? So we have our work cut out for us, but we have the power to succeed and achieve in that. So that concludes today's class.